KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader when the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. 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 4, 3, 2.
I be on the mile. Mile with the yak. Mile with the yak. Mile with the yak. I'm gonna be miles in the head, dog. Mile with the yak. 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 You talking crazy. You need to quit, Skip. You need to quit, Skip.
Welcome in. You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. This, of course, is the show where we hit all the trending topics across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. I'm your host, Jill Munroe. I hope that you are having an amazing Tuesday, that you are relaxed, and ready to get into some things as we always do, of course, because that's why we're here. So listen, before we jump into exactly what we're going to run down and discuss tonight, of course, I have to let you know that if you want to tap in to this conversation at any point, hit us up, 800-920-1580. Of course, you can hit us across our socials, KBLA 1580. Hit me up at Stiletto Jill. Download the app. Take us with you. All of that good stuff. Now, as always, we have a packed show for the evening. Listen, digital sports media is undergoing a shift. I know we're used to Stephen A. and Skip sort of ruling the roost and traditional journalists, but there is a major shift that is happening right now. And funny enough, it involves a lot of hip hop and former players. So we're going to get into that. The top, I think it's 25 sports media personalities have been released, and the top 10 has raised some eyebrows. And we're also going to look at, some of the dollars that are generating and how that environment is shifting and what it means. So we're going to dig into that. We're also going to talk about there were 2 new Vegas residencies that were launched today. Jodeci and Wu-Tang Clan are going to be coming to Vegas in 2024. So we're going to get into that, the monetary dynamics of that, and how live experience is changing. The average price of a concert ticket has gone up over the past year, more than 26%. So they know that the audience is willing to pay for these experiences, even in a downward, depending upon who you ask, looking economic outlook. So we're going to get into that conversation and what it means for our old school artists that are having this second life, second run, getting their flowers now. And then in the third hour, we know Kanye West previewed some of his new music, and his daughter, Northwest, was featured on one of the songs. So we're going to get into that. And also, we have seen, and we've talked about this a bit on other shows, a sort of surge in celebrity offspring being adamantly kind of welcomed into the spotlight by their parents. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, about the nepotism of it all, which, we kind of love, and some of the downsides of it. So those are the things that are on the agenda. But, of course, before we get into all of that, have to have a couple of conversation starters, topics that you need to know about, but we may not have time to fully get into. First of all, we want to send condolences and love and light to the family of actor Andrew Bauer. He passed away, was announced a couple of hours ago at 61 years old. He was one of the stars of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, also of Homicide, Life on the Street, and many other TV shows. You are familiar with his work if offhand you don't recognize his name. So just want to send condolences out to his family. Also, if you have an iPhone, I want to let you know that Apple is addressing security vulnerabilities seriously in case your iPhone gets stolen. Now, there is something that has been happening where iPhone thieves have been able to take over customers' accounts and access saved passwords, steal money, lock people out of their accounts, all of that, right? So there's going to be a new iOS setting that is introduced that is called Stolen Device Protection. And it's designed to protect against all of these attacks. They're going to be rolling out beta testing on Tuesday of next week. And the Wall Street Journal basically reported that there has been, pop ups now of criminals using iPhone passcodes to break into their victims' accounts and just basically wreak havoc over all of their lives. So it's been impacting and cropping up in cities like New York, Chicago, New Orleans, Minneapolis, and, that's no fun because one of the downsides of everything being digital is that if you lose access, it can be gone in seconds. And there's very little that you can do to kind of combat that. So, with this software update, users have to turn the new setting on. It's not automatically going to be set. And it's not going to cover all of your personal financial information on the phone, but, it's going to help. So, it allows you, obviously your passcode is only 4 to 6 numbers, whatever it is. So it will involve resetting the phone from remote and a time period that cools out basically. And you're going to have to utilize either thumbprint or face recognition. So, if you're into all of that, I know some of the people don't like putting their face into the iPhone or their thumbprints because they feel like, where's that stuff really going? Biometrics and all of that. But that is how you will be able to protect your phone. We'll see what happens in beta if they make changes to it, expand it. But I think that it is a good thing because we are all more vulnerable to digital attacks now just based off of how things are set up. Think about it. How often do you carry real cash versus paying with something like Apple Pay or using a debit card, a credit card? How many things do you actually utilize physical cash for? So got to learn to protect ourselves in new ways. When we come forward, we're going to get into more trending topics and headlines. There is a Young Thug RICO trial update. That trial is like a TV show, really. All of that and more on the other side. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
We wish you a holiday season filled with peace and love and a new year rich with blessings. Mask up and stay safe. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
People making lists, buying special gifts.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, Black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any Black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
This open enrollment season, LA Care Covered is offering health plans starting at $0 a month. Each plan provides benefits including $0 preventive services, 24/7 telehealth services, around-the-clock nurse advice lines, walk-in minute clinics, and more. Shop and compare premium silver plans with $0 deductibles to help meet your health goals. Ready to shop? Visit us online at lacarecovered.org for a commitment-free instant quote or speak with us directly at 855-222-4239. LA Care Covered, your affordable path to wellness.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So listen, we were just talking a little bit about digital security and the new iPhone feature software update that is going to be added to it, at least in beta, to help protect your iPhone and your digital information in case it is stolen. But I thought this was pretty interesting. There is one state in particular that leads the way as far as falling victim to online scams. And they have lost more money on average over the past year compared with Americans in the other 49 states. This was a study done by VPN Pro, and it was conducted using FBI data tracking total monetary losses due to cybercrime, right? And so Alabama has ranked as the top state for the highest losses per person over the past 12 months. Let me tell you how much these people have lost individually. The average person in Alabama that is a victim of cybercrime loses about $50,000. Do you understand? Can you imagine being hit up and being snatched for $50K? So listen, it is significantly higher than the national average, more than double. The national average is $18,300, right? And the study shows that over the past year, almost 5,000 people have been victims of cybercrime there. The second state that was impacted the most by online scams, with a total of 25,000 cybercrime incidents, is New York, and the average loss was $30,000 per victim. Massachusetts was third with 28,900. South Dakota was fourth with 28,400. And the state that was the safest and the smartest as far as, online shopping and cyber crimes, that'd be Vermont. And only 707 cyber crimes were reported there, and the average loss was $6,000. So after that, Indiana, so good job, y'all. West Virginia, and I don't see LA on here, which I suppose is good. I guess that means we're in the middle of the pack, but do you worry about cyber crimes? Do you think that I feel like I can spot that stuff right away? And it's funny, I was reading something about it, and they said that, sometimes when you get those emails, if you notice, they have a lot of typos and misspellings. And sometimes that is done on purpose because they feel like people that will respond anyway under those circumstances are more vulnerable to say yes to the scam or get involved or slip up by anything like that. So, Scammers will scam, so be careful. Okay, so listen, there is a change happening in the sports media landscape. We've talked about it. We've talked about some of my our favorite shows, my favorites. Obviously from the numbers, a big thing is happening in sports media. And not only do I want to talk about the change in personalities, I want to talk about the change in sponsors. We know that there is a chance that ESPN in some capacity will be picked up likely by one of Apple or something like that. They're trying to figure out ways to make it a direct to consumer standalone product. Disney is looking to move it out of the way. And as more online personalities are taking up space as far as views and where people go to, for example, on this top 25 list, right? In the top 10 alone, there are more internet former personalities than there are, well, not more than there have ever been. That's what I should say. So Cam and Mace are at number 6 with their It Is What It Is podcast. Gilbert Arenas is at number 7. Shannon Sharpe is actually number 1, which is interesting. We know he is on ESPN for limited time and he has his online podcast. But the thing that a lot of these personalities have in common with their product is that they are connected to betting apps, different things that are funding these ventures. No problem with that. They're spending a lot of money on them. I think Gilbert Arenas shared that, and Cam and Mace, basically Cam and Mace, their moderator, her name is Treasure Wilson. They call her Stat Baby. She was a University of Miami journalism grad, just graduated in May, and they have made her her co-host, and she's a millionaire now because of the money that was infused in from these companies. So the thing that I kind of wonder is, as more betting gets involved as far as sports go, and we're seeing more legalization, we're seeing the options of, leagues trying to figure out how they can work safely with these entities. Do we believe that there is a danger to the integrity of the sport with so much sports betting being involved and integrated into the programming across the board? We see it again. There are more betting shows. We know that there are podcast sports ventures that are setting up shop in Vegas. We know, and we're going to be talking about Vegas in the next hour as the entertainment capital of the world, really, at this point. Really close. But do we think that there is a chance, especially with sports teams now being so heavily included in the mix in Vegas, of some type of impropriety happening, of something kind of sticky popping up? I don't know. It's just something to think about. But as we look at the changes in the landscape, right? And we're here on YouTube in addition to on the radio. Where do you go to get your sports information? Who do you think about? Like we see the Stephen A's and the Skip Bayless slipping down the sort of, popularity poll. And I guess that always happens as things change and more former athletes step up. We know Charles Barkley is always a favorite. Shaq and he were on the list. Of course, Kenny, Joy Taylor. As far as the women, I should mention the women. Taylor Rooks was on at number 18. Joy Taylor was on at 22. So there are women there. There's a couple more, but the landscape is reshaping entirely. There's more comedy in the podcast. We see even the TV versions kind of pushing the limit to mix results. We know that there was a lot of hoopla about the changes at FS1. Don't know how those shows are really performing now, but we know Shannon seems to be soaring outside of the conventional means. So where do you turn to get your sports information, Andy?
Is Malika Andrews on the list?
Um, she is. She is. Let
I'm
me see where
surprised.
she. Why are you surprised? So here's the thing, the fans have their issues with her, right? I should say the black male fans, because that's kind of what it breaks down to. But I mean, a lot of people favor her. She ascended rather. Actually, wait. Actually, wait. Is she not? No. She is not. I thought she was. They actually have Mina Kimes on there instead of her, which is interesting to me. I don't know. But nope. So no, she's not on there. But Joy and Taylor are on there. So
Good.
good. So you feel the same way? You think that Malika Andrews kind of picks on black male athletes?
Honestly, I really don't care,
Okay.
but I do see. I have seen, the clips, the contrast of, how she does her thing, and I mean, I think some of that stuff is a little bit deserved, considering how media could spin a certain narrative or whatnot, and how media controls the narrative a lot of times. And I think that's one of the reasons why you have the rise of these sports personalities or these people doing their own thing on YouTube or whatnot, as opposed to being on ESPN, FS1, or any sports network. Because sometimes they do have limitations on what you can do, what you can say. For example, Stephen A.
Very
He
different.
has his YouTube show and he's over here cussing a storm.
Mhm.
He can't be like that on ESPN. So, um, with regards to Malika Andrews, I was just curious to know if she was on there, just considering all the flack that she's been receiving.
I thought, yeah, I thought when I saw the M, I thought it was Malika, but it was actually Mina Kimes. Curiously enough, KG and Paul Pierce are on there as well. What I do find interesting is some of the OGs that kind of kicked off this athletes, outside of the game, giving commentary wave, all the smoke with,
Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes.
yeah, there you go. Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. I don't know why I was blanking. And the Knucklehead podcast with Darius Miles and Quentin Richardson aren't anywhere on there. And I'm wondering if they're kind of being overshadowed. It's an interesting thing to watch. Now, I found, well, not found, that's not what I mean. While I was perusing, wait, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I believe the Knuckleheads didn't make the list.
They didn't. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I find it interesting that those two that kind of were on the front end of this wave as far as athletes and podcasts. JJ Reddick is on the list, things like that. There are people on there. Other ones, I'm sure they were trying to kind of spread out the love a bit, but I do think that it's interesting that the OGs have dropped off the scene. Um, Andy?
Did they provide did Complex provide criteria on how they created this list?
They didn't. I think that it's just basically about what they consider brand heat, who people are talking about, who's getting the views. They used a combination of what their social media views are, if they have a YouTube or things like that. I think it was more, our feelings, our vote. Like number 25 was a guy named Kenny Beecham, who I'm not familiar with. He has a podcast called Through the Wire. He's on YouTube though, and he does a lot of commentary on the NBA and 2K simulation, so video games, a little different crowd. He has about 500,000 followers on Twitter, 196,000 on Instagram, 1.3 million on YouTube though. And he was featured on First Take, and he started making YouTube videos in high school. So I think that they were, bringing in different elements. We have a caller on the line, Jamal from Los Angeles. Hey, Jamal, welcome to RSVP. You're now
Yeah.
VIP.
I just, really turned I'm glad I caught you guys, but I just really just turned the radio on, and I heard you mention Stephen A., and I consider Stephen A. to be the shock jock in terms of his commentary. I really don't care much for it, but that's just my particular opinion in regards to Stephen A. I don't like how they handled the Calvary thing with the Jews and all that stuff, and just, really, making comments when they, it's like, what we call a contempt prior to investigation. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I don't think that's the thing to do when we have some controversies jumping off like that. Just jumping on the bandwagon. So that's just where I'm at with it. Some of the commentary, some commentators are much more, intelligent. I mean, they have that persona, when they ask questions. Then there's just some dumb questions I hear sometimes in sports. Guys are playing football or basketball or whatever, and they ask some of the dumbest questions. I'm saying, how did you feel? What the hell you look how they felt? I'm just questions that are just really unnecessary. So I think, some people need some work. I can't name them all. I'm not going to try to, but in regards to that, all of the flavors that are out there, there's some people that need to do some work on or go back home and do some more study and then come back on the air, But
and revisit.
They sound like that guy that did the commercial. The tall guy, I forget what team he's on, but he just keeps saying the same thing. But yeah, I'm gonna listen to you guys because I like listening to y'all. You have a good perspective on things.
Thank you, Jamal.
Okay.
We appreciate the call. So listen, one thing I will say is I think he brought up Stephen A. not being able to say or the approach he takes. And I think Andy made a great point about them being tethered as far as what you can say on network television. I think that's why, too, you see Stephen A. letting loose a little bit with his more outlandish takes. They have no choice but to sort of allow him to be more open in his own outside space. And I'm sure he's preparing for whatever comes next. What I saw on Twitter, X, I'm sorry. I have to let you know that I know the proper name for it, but we all Twitter over here still. Someone said, also watching rappers turning into Wendy Williams after their careers is interesting. And I kind of feel the same way about athletes too. And not in a bad way from my perspective, but it is interesting watching how throughout their careers they critiqued media so much and their opinions and felt that they were picking on them or that they're moving the needle in different ways. And now here they are on the other side of the mic doing the exact same thing. And that goes for the hip-hop podcasters as well, being critics, critiquing the music, critiquing the rollouts, things of that nature because they have had that experience or they're just a fan of whatever entity that we're talking about, whether it's sports or entertainment. So I think that it is an interesting shift across the board as talent is obviously looking for more ways, multiple streams of income like everyone. And we know that the time at the top can only last so long. So people are getting into creative ways to extend that. Not everyone should, but, people are trying. And so I think that it is going to be really something to watch over the course of the next couple of years as the media landscape changes and takes shape. When we come forward, we're going to get into more trending topics and headlines. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is on the other side.
I got you.
Miles in that yeg, let me celebrate. We be pouring XO when I do say. On that yeg, oh yeah, me and Uncle Shay. You's a broke boy, you be sipping E&J. Uncle Skip Bayless, yep, that's my big dog. George just pulled up with the hand out. I done had 3 shots and Uncle Shay had 8. Playing spades and he talking about
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The woman behind a kidnapping hoax is proving to be one of the year's biggest Google topics. The search engine revealed this week that Carly Russell was one of its highest trending people in 2023. The 25-year-old was found guilty of 2 misdemeanor charges this fall, around 3 months after she claimed she was kidnapped in the Birmingham area. Russell, who is black, turned back up 2 days after she was taken, but the whole story ended up being fake. The FDA is approving sickle cell treatments that include CRISPR gene editing technology that could open the door for thousands of patients in the U.S. to receive a treatment that has the potential to alleviate the painful effects of the disease. The FDA approved Casgevy, which is a one-time treatment for patients 12 and over. The CDC says sickle cell disease affects about 100,000 Americans, especially Black Americans with African ancestry. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Caution, RSV, or respiratory syncytial virus, can be a dangerous virus for adults 60 years and older. Not all dangers come with warning labels. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about getting vaccinated today. Learn more at bewareofrsv.com.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Did you know there's a way to outsmart COVID if you get it? Now there are medicines that can treat COVID, whether or not you've been vaccinated, which is great news, especially if you're over 50. If taken in the first 5 days of having symptoms, COVID medicines can help stop the illness from getting serious. Call a healthcare provider or the statewide COVID hotline at 833-422-4255 to learn more about COVID medicines. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Day one, the hardest day. The day you hear,
this is a type of blood cancer.
But day one is just one day. At the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, we are here to help you move past day one.
On day 45, I discovered an online community who shared great tips for in-treatment care.
On day 185, LLS helped me file my insurance claims properly.
To learn more and get help on day 2, day 28, or any day, please visit LLS.org or call 1-800-955-4572.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lowe's knows how to save pros time and money. Right now, save over $40 on a Werner 6-foot stepladder. Was $115, now just $69.98. And there's more. Get up to 30% off select kitchen cabinet orders. Visit us in-store or online for more deals you can't beat. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Valid 12/7 through 12/13 on item number 98148. While supplies last. Minimum purchase and exclusions apply. See associate for details.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
city, know I'm unsober, true. No, I see you come over.
I'm a bad Brooklyn brown skin, and I love a hood with some toxic. Nothing but some socks, beef and rocks in it. Have me walking all crooked in my Crocs. Now go Taraji for my baby boy. Riding like a Kawasaki, that's his favorite toy. I must swipe his EBT like an Amex. Give it to him raw, no drawers, no latex. Yeah, I got him butt naked for me waiting at home. Since your 90 ain't hitting if he taking too long. Told him put my name on it, making him moan. The smell of Lola Brooke, that's his favorite cologne.
I'm yours for the summer, wanna drink until we drunk, I'm choosing you, baby. Things I wanna do to you, baby. Say he crazy till I gotta take a risk on you. Like, why would I lie when I'm trying to put this on?
Welcome back in. You were locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. I like Lola Brooke. And you know I like her too because she got that little rasp going on, the deep voice. You know, I can relate. And she is shorter than me, but she's short. She's tiny. She's 4'11". I like that with that big voice. I appreciate it.
When I first heard this song, I was like, for real, another sample?
Right. I agree with that.
And then I'm listening. I'm just like, you know what, though? That deep voice, she's Foxy-like. It makes sense.
From Brooklyn. I think she went and got Foxy's stamp of approval before she did it, which I appreciate, especially since it's so close to me, which we talked about last night, to, you know, Get You Home, the original with Blackstreet. This is my thing with that. Like, I appreciate it in a homage way, but I want to hear something different with the sample, right? I don't want to hear pretty much the same song. I don't know. But listen, what was her first single called? I just wanted to on the tongue. I can't remember the name.
It wasn't Don't Play With It?
Yes, I couldn't remember the name of it.
Don't play with it.
Look, that was fire. That was my joint. I was so surprised when I was like, oh, she's little. All right, listen, speaking of rappers and deep stuff, you know, that Young Thug's RICO trial, I shouldn't say Young Thug, the YSL RICO trial, doesn't that feel like it could have been Empire Season 7 had they have made it that far or something like that? It just really seems unbelievable, all the twists and turns that have happened with this case. You know, just a couple weeks ago, it was alleged that some of the jury's photos ended up online by accident. There's been all types of starts and stops, interesting interpretations of the meaning of their names, reworking things. Well, the most latest incident has caused a delay in the trial until January 2nd, after co-defendant Shannon Stillwell was stabbed in jail. And this is according to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. The judge delayed the trial until January 2nd. They were going to go on holiday break, but not until further into next week. But now it has been pushed out. And he was stabbed by an inmate named Willie Brown, who had been incarcerated without bond for 3.5 years. So basically, he has not been to trial yet. He is waiting, but, you know, can't afford that bail. And no word on what they believe happened yet, or if there was some, you know, interaction that happened that caused the situation. But we do know that the trial is postponed, so we'll see what happens next year. Okay, so listen, we know Ja Morant will be back on the NBA court. We haven't seen him. He's serving out that, was it 25 games that he was suspended? I believe it was a 25-game suspension. But he recently testified in the civil suit alleging his involvement in a summer pickup game that involved a 17-year-old that claims that Ja punched him when a fight broke out. The 17-year-old's name is Joshua Holiday. While on the stand, Ja explained that the scuffle broke out after Holloway threw a basketball at his face when they were checking the ball. Ja said that he felt disrespected and that Holloway played in pickup games at his parents' home 5 times before that incident that happened last July, but that he was guarding him initially. he became frustrated after losing several games. He said the confrontation escalated when Holloway struck him with the basketball and moved closer, where Ja felt like he had to defend himself because it looked like the 17-year-old Joshua Holloway was going to attack him. He said that he threw the first punch in self-defense, and, we'll have to see what the court thinks. Remember, this is a civil trial, not a criminal trial, but I don't know. Andy, what do you think? Do you think that sounds reasonable, that Ja felt like he had to defend himself at his home from the 17-year-old? Mind you, I'm not sure, if this 17-year-old is 6'8", 250, he may have a case, but I'm not sure of this one's physical makeup.
I don't know. It seems like trouble seems to follow Ja Morant everywhere he goes. So, I don't know. I think he just needs to go ahead and look in the mirror and move a little bit different.
Do you think that he will come back moving different? Do you think that after, everything that happened, being sat down, being kind of picked apart across the media, do you think that he will feel different, or will he come back with a bit of a chip on his shoulder?
He'll definitely have a chip on his shoulder. Only time will tell, because, you thought he would have learned his lesson the first time, but he went right back to, flossing, even though it wasn't him.
Right.
It was his friend.
Well, but he had the gun. His friend just was not careful with where he pointed the camera.
True. Exactly. Yeah, he just needs to move differently. So only time will tell. We'll see.
Okay. Well, he is making his return to the court December 19th. That's just a few days away, next Tuesday. So we'll see what's up with Ja when he returns. He has a lot to keep up with now because is it Tyrese Albert? Tyrese, right? With the Pacers? Halliburton, okay. Put on a show, kind of put on notice. Granted, I know he is not the same talent per se as Ja, but, he did make an impression, and he does seem to be following the rules. And the important thing is, in order to be a superstar, you also have to be available, yeah? You have to be on the court, and we'll just see what happens. I think Ja has it in him. I think he can suck it up. Side note, we have to give a shout out to Zion because he has been balling in spite of all of the weight jokes and things of that nature. A guy that worked at Wendy's in the fast food line took a selfie with Ja when he came through, and posted what he said was allegedly his order that he spent $100 at the Wendy's drive-thru. I don't know if that's true or not. I hope that's not true. They've been saying a lot of things. Stephen A. went in on him, but then Ja came out and, not Ja, excuse me. We were just talking about Ja. Zion came out and dropped some things and reminded you there is a reason why the hype was attached to this young man's name.
Yeah, but can you be consistent and can you stay on the court? So
not really.
That's cool.
That's
cool. He had a dope game or whatnot, but we want consistency and dominance all the way.
We'll see. We want that here in LA too. We won't talk about that. We just lost by a couple points to the Mavericks.
I'm not surprised.
Why you say that? The excitement from the tournament?
That 100%. And Dallas is, if I'm not mistaken, the number one team in the West.
I thought we were close. No.
We're like number 4, but that don't mean nothing. This is one of the top teams in the league, the Dallas Mavericks. And, I'm sure that they had extra motivation to want to beat the Lakers as well. Dallas was at home. It makes sense.
After coming off of that. So, well, when we come forward, I will tell you that there is a college course behind one of our favorite coaches. We'll get into that and more on the other side. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
We hope you have a safe and relaxing holiday season. Mask up and stay safe. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got a lot to talk about. And your voice is critical to all the conversation. Happy holidays.
There are 1,000 ways to say it.
Nope. Knock it off. Shut it down. Dream on. No dice. Give it a rest. Not a chance.
Or Just
I'll text. You focus on the road.
as a passenger, you have the power to prevent an accident. There are 1,000 ways to stop a distracted driver. Choose one.
A message from CTIA.
Meet Cheryl.
Hey.
She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right. Y'all gotta try that Febreze car. Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency. All over Febreze car clips right on your vid. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face. When it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. First up, a shout out to Draymond Green. He just got kicked out of the game tonight. The Warriors were playing the Phoenix Suns. He slapped Nurk across the face and ejected. I feel like I know he is the heart and soul of the Warriors, but at this point, do they really have to consider maybe moving? I know that he just signed that contract, but do they really need to start considering moving on from him?
100%.
Because I just feel like he's a hindrance for what they have to do. And I know that part of it is the way he plays, but at this point in your career, the antics are getting a little, save it for the special games. I don't know if this one needed it. I'm obviously only watched a little bit.
Yeah, it must be some internal stuff going on with them or whatnot. But low-key, I just think the Warriors dynasty or whatever, I don't, like, for example, this year, I don't think they're going to compete at all. Clay is not the same. And they need to make some moves. And I think if they decided to trade Clay and Dre, they can definitely get some
something
assets,
back.
100%.
Yeah. And get them a little fresh thing. But that's going to be tricky. We'll see what happens. So listen, I mentioned that there is a new course that is popping up based around, one of our favorite coaches. Of course, it's prime time. Deion Sanders. Colorado is introducing a new elective named after Prime, and it is called Primetime Public Performance and Leadership, right? And so the purpose of this elective is essentially to help college athletes navigate the world of NIL deals and prepare them to be ready financially, emotionally for the complex world of professional athletes, celebrity, and fame that now affects them in a different type of way with social media and NIL deals in the mix. So, the course description is as follows. A variety of media experts will focus on helping college athletes explore how to manage their time in college, prepare for their career, manage their celebrity, identify when to best speak into their profit center, advocate for worthy causes, coordinate with sports agents, and how to interact with journalists and media. So I think it's a good course. We had a couple weeks ago on former NBA star Antoine Walker, and one of the callers mentioned, because we talked about some of the challenges and things that happened with Antoine throughout his career. One of them was sort of time management, as far as he just wanted to play and focus on that. So he mentioned there were times when his cell phone would be cut off just because he didn't have time to pay it, and managing your time along with your celebrity and the money is going to be crucial, especially when you have guys getting multi-million dollar deals in college, right? And of course, there's more sharks in the water, but that's to be expected. There always were, there always will be. Okay, and I also have an update on the younger Sanders of the equation. There's been a lot of talk about how the younger athletes are going for some older women in the game. There's been a lot of, I don't even know, because the girls aren't really old enough to be cougars, but they are older than the players that they are dating. And of course, there's been a lot of conversation around grooming and these things. So it sometimes doesn't track too well with the kids or with the people on social media. But evidently, Shador Sanders has a girlfriend, and she is, of course, an Instagram popular young lady. She's 28 years old. Shador is 21, and her name is Jasmine Bray, and they have been spotted hanging out. They were recently spotted together in, I believe it was Cabo. Dion famously, while he was at Jackson State, brought in Brittany Renner to talk to the guys about dealing with Instagram girls and give them that kind of advice. Some of them will listen, most of them will not if given the opportunity. That's just the way the game goes. Hopefully, everybody's safe and moving correctly and protected when it comes to all of that. But shout out to Young Love, right? We love to see it. Mellow Ball is another one that has a girlfriend that is very Instagram popular and a little older than him. Her name is Anna Shevlis. I believe that's how you pronounce Anna's last name, known as Anna Montana on Instagram. So, I guess maybe there's a shift from the youngies to the little more vintage girlies. We'll have to see if that takes off. Okay, so listen. This next story, I don't know what to make of it. It seems like it's not something legally that can happen, but perhaps it can. So, according to mynewsla.com, there was a woman a few years ago that accused Takeoff of the Migos, who is now deceased, of sexually assaulting her back in 2020. She filed a lawsuit, a civil suit against him, and now she is asking the judge to allow his mother to serve as the defendant in this lawsuit now that Takeoff has passed away. So, 2 years before his death, the woman, who has remained anonymous, accused him of allegedly sexually assaulting and raping her at a party in Los Angeles. The woman claims that he repeatedly made advances to her. She kept denying them throughout the night. She went to lay down in a bedroom, and she claims he followed her and forced himself on her. She originally filed the suit in June of 2020, and now that he has passed away, she wants the judge to make his mother, Tatiana Davenport, the defendant. She is the acting administrator of his estate, which is why she wants to take this action. A hearing to determine whether or not his mother can be added as the new defendant is scheduled to take place in 2024. I don't know how I feel about this because, one, he is not there to defend himself. It doesn't say if he was deposed or not, but I think that is a really interesting precedent. I could see if a trial had happened and a judgment was in place and she was still trying to move ahead to collect her judgment. That is far different than what she is asking. The mother was not there nor involved in the situation, and even as acting as the executor of his estate, she still cannot speak to whatever happened with their situation. I also question, because I know that justice wants to be served, but if it is about justice, and again, as a victim for this woman, I am not qualified to say what will shape her healing, if that is the case, or what she should be entitled to for any pain and suffering that she was inflicted. But I just wonder, is death not enough? Again, I'm not making the judgment. I'm simply asking the question in this circumstance, especially given that he won't be able to be there to answer for his alleged crimes. I don't know if this is something that is normal. I know that, estates have been sued before, but I don't know if it can happen for a physical action where the individual can't defend himself. But I suppose we'll see, and, I don't know. If you guys have any thoughts on that, feel free to share them with me. I would love to hear them. And let me give you a breakdown of what we're going to discuss in hour 2. I mentioned Jodeci, Wu-Tang. They all have residencies coming up in Vegas. We're going to talk about the live experience in Vegas, the cost of a live experience that has changed. We're also going to get into a little bit of a topic that we talked about last night about MC Hammer. I think that I have a more recent artist that we can kind of, to a degree, compare Hammer's rise to and sort of his effect on hip-hop and how he was initially shunned. So we're going to get into that. We're also going to talk a little bit about Jonathan Majors and some things that happened in that case, some news with Megan Thee Stallion, and some information that was dropped about who originally the studio wanted cast in the film, the new musical film, The Color Purple. All of that is coming up on the other side. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm yours for the summer, wanna drink until we drunk, I'm choosing you, baby.